Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Today we're going to look at some brand new cards that got revealed in Stellar Miracle. A couple of new cards have been revealed over the past week here from our next set, Stellar Crown, Stellar Miracle. I definitely wanted to look at some of these new cards. We got a brand new Cinderace EX, which is another Stellar type Pokemon. We even have a brand new supporter that synergizes really well with a couple of new Pokemon within this set. So I'm definitely excited to look at some of these new cards here within this set. Of course, Stellar Miracle is coming out on the 19th of July in Japan, so very, very soon, actually in the next couple weeks. So we're probably going to get the full set revealed very soon. And then, of course, the set comes out on September 13th in English. But I'm excited to look at these brand new cards here on the second channel. If y'all are new to the second channel, though, make sure to subscribe down below. We're on the road to 15,000 subs. And if you want to enjoy the video, leave a like and all that good stuff. We'll leave a link to Pokebeach down below if you want to go look at any of these cards for yourself. So we'll start things off with a brand new Ladian and Ladybug that got revealed. Now, if memory serves correct, I don't know if we've ever had a playable Ladian before, and this might actually be the first playable Ladian card. Now, Ladian does have the ability Sparking Star Pattern. When you place Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, during your turn, you may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with 90 HP or less remaining into the active spot. So, pretty cool ability. Does have that built-in gust. Now, it's only limited to Pokemon with 90 HP or less, obviously. You're not able to gust out everything like Rotoms or anything like that. But you're still gusting something out regardless. And even if it has 90 HP or less remaining, that honestly isn't too bad. I mean, some of the Pokemon that come to mind, obviously, stuff like Comfey, basic Pokemon like Charmander and Pidgey, Bidoof, stuff like that, Dreepy. All those Pokemon get gusted in for free with Ladian, which makes Ladian actually a fairly playable card in that regard. Lets you be a little bit more aggressive with your plays. I'm not sure what deck will exactly play this Ladian, because like I said, this might actually be the first playable Ladian card we have ever received. I don't know if we've ever had a Ladian have an ability that has been this decent. Now, it's nothing crazy. It's, not as good as what we saw in the past with Umbreon VMAX, where you could gust out anything when you evolve it. But still, gusting out a Pokemon 90 HP or less remaining does have its merits. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Toy Catcher, which gusted something out with 50 HP or less remaining. So there are some cool things you can do with Ladian, and it does let your deck be a little bit more aggressive towards those lower HP decks. And maybe this can be really good against those evolving decks. I mean, Ladian can bring in even something like a Dracloak from the bench, which is nice. So there are some Pokemon Ladian can bring in. Unfortunately, there's no way to, scoop it up as easily. There is Scuba, Cyclone, and Turo within the format, but still, though, it's not a bad card, and like I said, this could be the first decent Ladian card we've ever seen, and definitely does have an okay ability. Letting you have that built-in gust isn't bad at all. Next up, we can look at the brand new Cinderace EX here. Now, this is another Stellar-type Pokemon, like the Galvantula and the Lapras and Terrapagos we looked at. Now, Cinderace does have two different attacks. We got the attack Flare Strike, which for 1 fire and 2 colorless energy does 280 damage, and then during your next turn, this Pokemon cannot use Flare Strike. And then you have another attack here, which does, of course, require the different energy types. You got a fire, you got, a fighting and a dark energy required for the attack cost, and it's got Garnet Volley. This attack does 180 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and that's about it. That's all the card does. So, nothing too crazy going on within the Cinderace. It just kind of does damage. Honestly, not a bad card. Yes, it is a Stage 2 Pokemon, which is going to be the ultimate hindrance for this card ever seen play, but it does have 2 attacks that honestly aren't bad. I mean, sniping something for 180 does have its merits. I mean, you can knock out Squawkabillies, Mew EXs, Lumineon Vs, stuff like that. You are going to fall a little bit short on stuff like Rotom, I guess, but just play a Hawlucha in your deck, and then boom, problem solved. And then, of course, I think the main thing is the first attack. Just 280 damage raw is pretty darn good. Being a fire and a double colorless energy isn't bad energy requirements. You could even play that with double turbo if you really wanted to. Even though you're doing 260 damage, I mean, 260 is still a ton of damage to do. And, of course, if you can find a way to power Cinderace up, it's not too bad. Of course, you could play a Magma Basin to put energy on it that way. You could play Cinderace with Armor Rouge. Just finding ways to move energy onto your Cinderace isn't a bad idea, because I do think that first attack, I mean, it's probably just better than the other attack that it has, because, I mean, 280 damage is a lot. If you slap a Max Belt on your Cinderace, you're knocking out Charizards and Dragapults in one hit, which isn't bad at all. So, honestly, not a bad card. Nothing too crazy, nothing, insane, but honestly, pretty playable. I mean, like I said, it's got 2 attacks, both of which can be useful. You might struggle to build up that second attack, especially if you're playing a deck with Fire Energy. You can't really put Luminous Energy on your Cinderace to power up that attack, so you might struggle to build up that Garnet Volley attack, but honestly, this card isn't too bad. Being a fire Pokemon does have its merits, because you can, of course, play it with the Magma Basin, the Armor Rouge. There are ways 2 Accelerated Energy onto your Cinderace. So yeah, definitely not a bad card. I mean, yeah, it's a stage 2. That's really the only thing holding it back, but it does a lot of damage, and both attacks can come in handy. We got another new card revealed here, and it's just a Zeraora. Does have the attack Combat Thunder, does 20 damage for 2 energy. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it's one of those Pokemon that just kind of does damage when your opponent puts Pokemon on their bench. It's actually similar to the Teal Mask Ogerpon, or just, no, there's an Ogerpon, I think, that's just a single prizer. It does the exact same thing, and it's a grass type. So you could theoretically play this with, like, super effective glasses. That's kind of the first thing that came to mind, is play with, like, glasses or something. If your opponent, let's say you're playing against Lugia V-Star, and your opponent fills up their entire board, which is likely to happen, you can just go Zeraora and do a buttload of damage, knock something out. You could also put, like, super effective glasses on it, take a big knockout. You could do this against, like, Pidgeot if your opponent fills their board up, Palkia V-Star, something like that. So not a bad attacker. Like I said, could be good within Lost Box if you were to combine it with, like, glasses to do that extra bit of damage, to take that knockout. It's pretty easy to build up, too. Only landing that colorless energy. It's pretty cost efficient. And it's only, I mean, it does have 120 HP, but yeah, it's not bad at all. Definitely not a bad card. Could be good. It's like a one-prize attacker in Lost Box. All right, finally, we got the exciting new stuff here. We got a brand new supporter, Kofu, which is a very cool card because it works really nicely with this new Valusa and Crabominable that got revealed. So we're going to take a look at these real quick here. So look at the new Crabominable. So the new Crabominable is a Stage 1 Pokemon. We've had somewhat playable crabs in the past. This one does have the ability Prep Work. Attacks used by its Pokemon cost 1 colorless less for each Kofu card in your discard pile. So its main attack here, Haymaker, does 250 damage, and then during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Haymaker. Well, it does require 5 energy, but of course, if you have all 4 Kofu within your discard pile, this attack does 250 damage for just a single water energy, which is honestly pretty busted. That's one of the standouts of playing this deck, is your main attacker can do 250 for 1 energy. Now, the downside is you have to actually find the Kofus. You have to discard them. You can't just, like, wait, forever, because Crabominable does require a lot of energy to power itself up. So you can play with reverse energy, I guess, while you slowly work towards finding your Kofus in the early game, and then once you discard all 4 Kofus, you're chilling. I think there's a Meowstic in the form of that when you play it down, you can grab 2 supporters out of your deck, if I recall correctly. So there are some ways you can find supporter cards fairly easily. And once you get all 4 Kofu in the discard pile, you can do 250 for 1 energy. I'm pretty sure the ability also works with stuff like Crisis Punch, if I recall, because it's similar to Cramorant, I think. So I'm pretty sure you can use this with Crisis Punch too in the late game. And I think you can use Crisis Punch for 0 energy if you have 3 Kofu in the discard. I'm not too sure on that. Maybe someone can correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure if you can use Crisis Punch with Crabominable, that does work. So that's actually also a very interesting combo you can do, is use Crabominable with Crisis Punch, but definitely not bad. And then, of course, we have another Kofu synergy card. We got the new Valusa here. Basic water Pokemon, does have the ability Prep Work, where same thing. Attacks used by this Pokemon cost 1 colorless for each Kofu card in your discard pile. And then you have your main attack here for 4 colorless energy. Sonic Edge does 110 damage, and the this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So a nice solid chunk of damage, 110 damage. You can potentially do 110 damage for free. Hey man, it's kind of deja vu to Cramorant, right? Kind of deja vu, 110 for free. You have to work a little bit harder. It's not as easy as putting 4 in the Lost Zone, but honestly, not bad. I mean, both of these 2 cards definitely could be good, because you just got to play the Kofus, get them in the discard pile. You have a Pokemon that can do 250 for 1 energy, and then you have a Pokemon that can do 110 for no energy. Obviously, Crabominable is the better attacker, because you can do it for 1 energy, and, it does do more damage, but Valusa's not bad if you need an early game kind of attacker, if you can find the Kofus. And then finally, what does Kofu actually do? Is it worth running this in your deck? Well, it does have the effect, put 2 cards from your hand onto the bottom of your deck in any order, and then draw 4 cards. So pretty simple stuff. You just take 2 cards away, and then you draw 4 new cards. So kind of similar, actually, to the old Claydol Dronjin from back in the day. That was kind of the first thing that came to mind when I thought of this Kofu card. Honestly, not a bad supporter. It's not like a vanilla, unplayable supporter card that, just so happened you had to play in order to make these Crabominable and Valusa cards work. Thankfully, it actually isn't a bad card. It's a decent draw supporter. I mean, yeah, it's not bad. You're not discarding the card, so, you can't... Let's say you want to discard Kofus from your hand. You can't Kofu away other Kofu cards to power up your own Pokemon. That would have been pretty good if you did. I'm not going to lie. That would have been kind of sweet if it discarded the 2 cards, but you are, at the very least, are drawing cards. It is a playable card. It lets you play the game. It lets you draw cards. That's never a bad thing. So, thankfully, the Kofu card is actually playable. So, if you're going to build this deck, definitely the Kofu is not a bad card. And that makes me wonder if we're going to see any other Kofu Pokemon come out in the set. Because surely we're not just going to get Crabominable and Valusa. I would imagine we might get one more card that synergizes well with Kofu. Hopefully we do. Because I think there is some cool combos you could do with this. And I'm really excited to see an archetype like this actually work in the format. So hopefully we see more Pokemon that work with Kofu, as long as they're not like, you know, broken. But definitely a really cool idea. And I really like the this idea of using Kofu with the Crabominable and the Valusa. Definitely a really cool archetype that could pop up if we see more cards that also use Kofu that have interesting attacks. But there you have, folks. Those are the new cards that got revealed. Again, nothing too crazy. Of course, the standout was probably the Cinderace here. Obviously, Cinderace being a pretty playable Stage 2 Fire-type EX Pokemon. And then something like the Zeraora being pretty good, too, at dealing with, you know, basics and stuff in Lost Box. You can put it with glasses. Pretty good with that. And then, of course, the Kofu's pretty cool stuff. The Kofu stuff looking pretty cool, too. So definitely excited for these new cards to come out within Stellar Miracle. And like I said, we are probably going to get more cards revealed very, very soon. Because, again, the set does come out on the 19th of July in Japan, so we're probably going to see the rest of these cards revealed very shortly. But let me know what you think of these cards down below. What do you think of the new Kofu stuff? What do you think of the new Zeraora? What do you think of the new Cinderace EX? Do you think Cinderace is playable? And then, of course, what do you think of Ladian? Do you think the Ladian could see some play? Again, being able to gust stuff out on an ability is not too shabby whatsoever, so there could be some merit to running stuff like Ladian and stuff in the format. But yeah, that'll be for me on today's video. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like. If you're new to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Once again, we're on the road to 15,000 subs, and yeah, I'll leave a link to Pokebeach down below, and I'll catch you on another video. Bye-bye.